There we go. We are live.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Howdy, howdy.
All right. We're still
Um,
figuring
I,
out
we're
all the
starting.
technology, but I think we're getting there. So perfect. Well, all right, everybody, welcome. We are talking about down payment assistance today, and we have got Mark Steinke, the best down payment assistance loan officer out there. Um, Yep. So, really quick, just to do a quick introduction, I'm Sarah Futa. I've been an agent since 2016. I'm with the Futa Home Team at Keller Williams.
I
Denise?
am Denisse Anaya. I'm also with Keller Williams and the Futa Home Team. Have been in the business for a little over 4 years now, and I love down payment assistance. And I'm excited for Mark to talk about all the programs that we have.
Great. And I'm Mark Steinke. I'm with CMG Home Loans. Been in mortgage lending for 30 years now. So I've seen a lot of things come and go, but definitely have some good options on down payment assistance and some good advice there too. So good programs. Big
Perfect.
fan. So thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I think this is a big topic, right? There's a lot of people who want to get into home ownership, but they're just not, sure about closing costs and I think what is it, 3.5%? That's the minimum down payment that you can have. And when you look at
Yeah.
Colorado and our average price point, I mean, 3.5% could be a nice chunk of change, right? And for first-time home buyers, especially, there's a lot of programs out there. So that's why we wanted to get on this topic because, like Denise has helped several home buyers in 2023 get into homes using down payment assistance. And it's just such a great tool that not a lot of people know about. So, Mark, I don't know if you want to just start with kind of an overview. I know there's like over 70 down
Yeah.
payment assistance programs, but like what is down payment assistance and how can people use it?
You bet. No, generally, I just at least like to go because you're right. There's some different programs that go out there, and down payment assistance is, really it's interesting because in our industry and in the mortgage lending industry, and you guys know this, is there's really several things that are super important that we look at just to do a loan in general. And it's interesting that these programs are so focused on the down payment assistance part because we have to look at credit, right? In all loans, we always have to look at credit, and we always have to look at income, and we have to look at assets. I mean, those are the big three that we look at when we're qualifying somebody for a loan. And typically, what that means is most people that want to get a house usually have some income. They know that, right? They don't usually go and try to buy a house without having income. Credit, everybody pretty much knows about credit and knows how important it is. Everybody knows what their FICO score is. They follow it on some sort of app or some sort of object to do it. So that's the income and the credit part. And the last part's the down payment assistance. And I would, say if I was to ask you guys, if you've got people that are first time buyers or new buyers out there, a lot of them probably have income in some sort of credit, and they probably come to you going, yeah, but I don't have any money to buy a house, right? I'm guessing, is that right? I mean, if I'm looking at
Yeah.
it. And that's where the down payment assistance part comes in. So I've got, two things to kind of present you. I kind of told Denise I've got kind of a special thing to look at here too, but down payment assistance generally in of itself is really just programs that allow help with money for down payment and closing costs. And that amount, like you mentioned, Sarah, typically FHA is a 3.5% down payment. There's some 3% down payment programs too that can have some down payment assistance options also, but it's all really close. Most of those down payment assistance programs are structured in a couple of ways. You do have to have credit, and you do have to they all have credit limits or credit guidelines, and they all have income also that you need. And so those things we do always to look at, but the down payment part is where people really struggle in most cases. So to do that, most of these programs either have a grant or a loan, and that comes from an outside agency or a third party agency. And the important part about that is that has to be, it can't just be anybody. It typically has to be some sort of a nonprofit, structured as a nonprofit that way to give a gift, because most loan guidelines require that the money that comes into you to use for your down payment, you can't just go off the street and you can't borrow it, right? You can't go out and borrow the money for down payment. That's not an acceptable source.
Right. Really
So
quick.
that's why that.
I mean, I know this, but just for people listening,
Mhm.
Right.
what's the difference between a loan and a grant?
Mm.
Good question. So a loan basically is, in most cases, a loan would be like if you went out and borrowed money against your car, or went out and got an unsecured loan, like
So you have to pay it back.
a quick one note that you have to pay it back. Right, a loan you have to pay it back. Now some of these grants you have to pay back too, but I'll go into that. But the difference is that a loan really isn't an acceptable source, and the source of funds that you can use is typically you can use a gift, or you can use these grants or gifts from these nonprofits, which are the down payment assistance programs. There's actually a new twist to that I'll tell you guys about at the end of this, that I kind of alluded to you, Denise, on the phone when I talked to you about it, that we've got as an option, but I'll go to that at the end. Anyway,
Okay.
down payment assistance basically means you've got to go and apply with one of these agencies that has the money to grant you the down payment amount. Now, that grant typically can be 3 to 4%. Okay. So some of the highest grants that I know of are about 4% grant, which means that if your down payment is 3 to 3.5%, typically other closing costs, which means your taxes, insurance, and all that sort of stuff, can be 2%, 2 to 2.5%. So really, this transaction can be 5.5% that you need. If you can only get a gift for 3 or 4%, it does mean we have to structure it some way to get the rest of that. And both Sarah and Denise are experts in that, and that's why we're on this call. Is that, hey, if there's some other stuff that we've got to get some help with, there's some other areas, but you need guidance to do that. That's why you need a professional like these ladies to really help you into that part, because that part can be hard to get to.
I think that's
So
Oh, Denise, you
yeah,
say it. Go. We're
No,
probably
ahead.
thinking the same thing.
they're so focused on the 3.5% that you need. Once we have down payment assistance, they're like, okay, so I don't have to bring anything, but they forget that there's closing costs, and though
Right.
it's not at the same amount as a down payment, it's still 2 to 2.5%. And so, I mean, sometimes the down payment assistance programs do cover part of it, but not all. And so, a lot of people have to get reminded of that. What were you going to say, Sarah?
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, there's
Yep.
just because there's these down payment assistance programs, it's assistance. It's not 100%. And so one of the questions I was going to ask, because you have closing costs and you have earnest money, and even though you might be able to get some concessions from the seller to cover some of that, you're not going to get that for your earnest money. Like, what is the minimum amount that you tell people they should have in their bank account when they're even going down this? I mean, I have a number in my head that I tell people, but I'm interested what you tell people, because
Well,
people do need money. Like,
yeah,
you do need to save money or have a gift or
yeah,
something to that effect. It's not like you can't have any.
right. Yeah, and that the number, what some of these, if you're talking about me from the lending side, right? What we talk about is what are the requirements for a loan or for a down payment assistance program. And to be honest with you, the minimum really that most of them will have is $1,000. I mean, that's from the buyer has to come. Now, again, that may not be enough to cover an earnest money deposit
Right.
or that sort of thing. So there are the things outside of the lending side, which are real estate concerns, which is, again, why you need a team and why you need experts helping you with it. But the $1,000 is typically the minimum invest you have on some of these grants and programs that you can use for the down payment assistance. So,
I recommend 5,000. That's my number. I
I
think
get it.
if you want to become a home buyer and you're listening to this right now, like, figure out a plan, and we're happy to help you with that too, on how to save $5,000, because I feel like you will still be able to utilize these assistance programs. And whether you use all of that money or not, you'll be able to enjoy the experience more than going into it feeling like you're broke. And
Right.
that's not a great strategy emotionally or from an investment perspective.
Or financially.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's a good point. So, and I'm going to talk about that again at the end. I've got some really, really good ideas for you guys on that, and some neat stuff
Well,
about that. But
let's talk about those ideas. We've got about, what,
okay,
20 more minutes, but I feel like it's going to probably ignite some more questions.
okay.
Yeah. Let's talk
Well,
about
let me finish up just kind of generally just on the down payment stuff to finish that out for you, and then I'll move right into that. So the other things that kind of you have to consider in down payment assistance is I mentioned they can be grants or they can be loans. In many cases, the reason you need to talk to me or Denise or Sarah on something like this is because everybody's situation is different, and there's down payment assistance programs that are different for your specialty and for what's important to you, which means I can't just sit here and tell you, hey, this is the best program, this is what you want to go with, because everybody's different. So it takes somebody who knows the different ins and outs of them to kind of put you in the right place. And why I mentioned that is some of them have income limits, right? You can only be in certain income limits. Some of them have regional limits, like you can only be in a certain area to buy in to get to access the programs. Some of them have credit score limits. And when I say income limits, it means if you make over a certain amount, sometimes these down payment assistance programs aren't available. So we have to check that too. And in regards to when you get this money from them, some of these grants aren't always just a gift of money. It can still cause some repayment issues, but you don't have to make monthly payments on them. And typically, they don't come due until you actually go to sell your house. And some of them have limits on time frames too before they're even that they're ever due, or they might never have to be paid back. So lots of ins and outs, lots of different things on these programs. So again, a lot of different options for people, and it's really good to structure those and find the best one for those people. So that's from the down payment assistance program. The money's out there, it's available. Used to be in the past, it would go away, it'd get used up and gone, but now there's so many more programs that usually that's not an issue. There's usually always funds for down payment assistance out there for you.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. So now the kind of thing I've been alluding to on the outside is, as Sarah mentioned, you really do have more money if you can. I mean, to do these things with earnest money and that sort of thing, and that can come. All of these programs typically are allowed to have a gift, and that gift can come from lots of different sources. Historically, that gift can come from a relative. It has to be from a relative to be an acceptable gift. But one of the things I want to kind of let you guys know about now is we actually have a program at my company, CMG, and it's proprietary. Only we have this program. We actually have a program where you can get gift money from just about anybody. We actually have a program where you can set up an account, and anyone can contribute into that account. It's been accepted. And what I mean by that is it's a really, really effective program we use for a lot of people that are newly married. I can generate what are those codes called? The scan codes
QR
that you
code.
have. A QR code, where you basically put a QR code on your instead of going to a registry, you can put a QR code out in your wedding invitation, and people can contribute to your fund.
That's
That's
awesome.
And
awesome.
I love that.
yeah, it's also got attachment to shopping. There's a shopping app too, that if you incorporate the shopping app into any shopping that you do, these companies will match whatever you will put in an amount into this account also. So you can get money from anyone, under this program. The lender, meaning us, what we do, we actually match contributions up to $2,000. So if you get $2,000 in contributions from somebody else, we'll throw in 2,000. And there's actually also a way to do this with your realtor partners, with you guys. If you guys are in it, you guys can also match up to these amounts. Which historically, that you're not allowed to do that for down payment,
Yeah.
right? You can't do that. You can now. You can now. This is super. Like I said, it's a proprietary program. Only we have it, and it actually allows you. I mean, you can also take this and put it on social media. You can progress on social media out and say, hey, we're getting married, and our Instagram, you show it, and you can actually generate contributions into this program through your social media program.
It's like a
Right?
GoFundMe for homeownership.
Yeah,
It's
the down
absolutely.
payment. That's amazing. Yeah, because
Yeah, it
usually,
is absolutely. Yep, it's exactly what it is, but it's only through us, and it's only in this program to do it. So it's a proprietary program that we have at CMG. So it's super, super neat. It's fairly new, but we've already put in a lot of programs through it. So it's a really, really great way to generate money. It doesn't have to be a wedding or you getting married. You can do it with anybody. So it can, friends can contribute $5, friends can contribute $10, and you can get matches from other folks to kind of bolster that up. So it's a super, super way to kind of generate and get that other gift of that other money to put this together. So
very cool.
super neat.
Yeah,
Yeah, really, really
yeah,
neat.
because usually, if it wasn't coming from a relative, then they would have to that increases the down payment amount to like 20, 25%, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Historical traditional gift rules are that gift has to come from a relative. And
Right.
that's no longer the case with this program, which is really pretty cool.
I wish I
Yeah.
knew that a month ago when I was dealing with this client.
Yeah. I
Or,
didn't have it.
No, you didn't.
I was
poor
keeping it
Denise.
secret
Damn
from
it.
everyone. Yeah.
Poor Denise just has a client who had to get married to bypass this piece of
Because
it,
the
which
relative,
is,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh
yeah,
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Well, there
The
you go.
stories we could tell. The stories we could tell.
No
Right.
longer an issue. Yeah. And it's
You should
yeah,
come
and
having
it
our
really is. It's great. You can track this, and this fund gets tracked through you. You get to see what's going on with it, and we can be involved with it. Meaning lenders and the realtors, and can help out and all sorts of things. It's
So,
really neat.
Mark, could they have this fund, right? And I'm sure you
Mhm.
have a link or something that we can put in the comments that
Yep.
people can learn more about this. So send that over. But if
Yep.
they create this fund, are they to maybe help raise like that $5,000, right? That I say is that minimum. Are they then
Mhm.
still able to qualify for a down payment assistance program?
Yes, yes. So you can do that under the down payment assistance program along with that. Now, not everyone, and that's the thing. We have to
Right.
check on an individual one, so they're different. They're different on each one on it. But and even then, if you do or don't, then it does obviously the generation of that is important. But again, it's one of those things where it doesn't work with every program because a lot of those programs have their own requirements as to what they want to do, and they can restrict you on that stuff. So
Okay. That's just a good thing
they can't tell you across the board.
in the piece of
Yeah.
it, right? I mean, some people might raise 3 grand and they'd still qualify. Some people might have some really generous friends and raise
Mhm.
20,000 and that could push them out of
Right.
qualifications for down payment assistance, right?
Well, so well, you wouldn't need it. Yeah, you
Yeah,
wouldn't need the
exactly.
down payment assistance programs at that point in time. You'd use there's other programs that are, because the down payment assistance does have some limitations that if you can do a standard 5% down or even 3 or 3.5% down, sometimes that you're better off just to go that direction as opposed to using a down payment assistance program. So
What is the minimum credit score someone should have?
the lowest credit score I've seen on a down payment assistance program so far is a 620.
Okay.
Mhm.
I've heard there's programs that go to 580, but I don't. I've never been successful with one or been able to get one that's gone through.
Okay.
So,
I
and
think
that,
that's
like I say, I'm not.
I think that's important. Just as you said it, it made me think, a lot of times people think like, oh, I'm pre-approved, so I can go buy this house. Yes, you are pre-approved, but there is a process, right? You're pre-approved. We make an offer. That address attaches now to that loan for approval. But then you've got the whole transaction process, which is a 30-day process to make sure that the underwriter on the loan is actually going to approve it. I mean, we've been there in situations it's not great, right? Where 5 days before closing, 3 days before closing, something comes up and we can't close. Our goal, Denise and I, is to protect your earnest money in that standpoint, right? Because we want you to be able to get that back. Earnest money is what you have to put down right away. That cash gets, or that check gets cashed. And we'll talk about that more in our how to buy a home webinar on 129. But like, there is a process from pre-approval till closing that I think a lot of people misunderstand. um that things can go sideways a little bit. There's a lot of the lender is lending you a lot of money. The down payment assistance program is lending you a lot of money, and so there are steps beyond approval. I always say, like, you don't have final approval until you've signed those closing papers and you walk away and the house is yours. Like,
And
it's
they check your credit score when you're getting pre-approved. They'll check it again a couple days before closing,
yep,
so everything needs to stay the same for
yeah,
the month, for a couple months at least.
Right.
yeah.
Right. And there's appraisals in the interim part, right? There's appraisals and there's credit checks and there's underwriting checks and all that stuff can sometimes just bring up something that you didn't expect to come up.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
that's where a team like us, right? We know these things and we stay on top of those things because we do want to get you to the closing table and we want it to be, we want it to be good. I know a lot of these down payment assistant programs are FHA as well. Is that accurate? I mean, I know there's some
Yeah.
conventional, but primarily FHA.
Primarily FHA. Absolutely. Yeah. Under the government agency. You bet. Yeah, which is a fine program for a first-time home buyer. It
It
absolutely
is.
is.
I
They're
bring it up.
forgiving in credit and income and everything else. Yep.
Yeah, I bring
Go
it
ahead.
up just because there's not a lot of FHA approved homes out there. Sometimes in price points. That's a challenge Denise and I run into as realtors is you might be approved for $350,000 on a FHA loan, but that property is typically going to be like a townhouse or a condo, just because that's the reality of what that price point gives you. And
Mhm.
that complex then is usually in an HOA, and so it has to be approved for FHA loans, which that tends to be the piece that is a little bit harder to find. Not impossible. We've
Yeah.
definitely found it before, right? But
Yeah, but it
you know,
can be. Yeah.
It gets a lot harder with condos and
there's
townhomes because of that HOA. Not a lot of them are FHA approved. So if you can get a conventional down payment assistance program, then that opens up a lot more opportunities
yes,
for sure.
but typically they're FHA. So
FHA. So we got to talk about this. We'll have to see what we can
And
do.
even conventional, yeah, even conventional has some requirements under condos and townhouses and stuff too. But they're not typically as strict always as what FHA might be on it. So it's
right.
always something we've got to check for
Yep.
sure.
Well, and I bring that up. Hopefully, if you're listening to this webinar, you are working with Denise or I as your realtor, because condos are different and townhomes are different. And if you're not paying cash, which if you're listening to this, you probably aren't, right? Um, there are rules that need to be followed to get that. And I have a lot of amazing colleagues out there, but not all of them know how to work with condos and townhomes, and not all lenders know how to work with condos and townhomes.
Right.
Um,
Down payment assistance.
yeah, and down payment assistance, which is why we've got Mark on this webinar with us because he knows how to do the down payment assistance programs. You've got to have experience. So,
But
hopefully you're working with us, but if you're not, just make sure that who you are working with has experience. And if they don't, then call us. So.
for sure.
Awesome.
Yep.
I
Denise,
think
do you have any
Um,
other questions or anything to add?
no, I think the main thing I want people to take away is you have to talk to a lender to see where you are at. Otherwise, I mean, there's just you're just going to be waiting and waiting until you
Yeah.
figure it out. But yeah, I mean, just talk to a lender, see if you are eligible for down payment assistance, see if you can get a grant, or even if it's a loan that you'll have to eventually pay back when you sell the house or refinance down the road. Something, let's just figure out what is better for you and best suited for you and your situation.
right. No, and on that note, as Denise mentioned, the reason I said the three things are income, credit, and the down payment, and even income and credit are open for interpretation on the lending side. That's why it's such a good idea to talk to a lender. Typically, guys, I can figure out a way to get it done, and we may not be able to get it done next week, but working with a team like us, we're going to get it done. We've done this long enough, and we've been doing this long enough, and we're focused enough, and hey, we're doing this to get folks in houses. We'll find a way to make it happen, even if there's a little bit of delay. But credit score, those apps you do on credit scores, even though you get a credit score and you see it out there, doesn't mean that's what your mortgage credit score is going to be, which can be a different credit score than what you're seeing, say, on a Credit Karma. I see it all the time. It always comes up. So that's why it's always good to talk to a lender about it and talk to somebody who does it for free. Like, for instance, for me, we'll pull credit and pre-qualify somebody without any sort of charge. That's not always the case. Some lenders charge for their credit reports. They charge to do that stuff. So find somebody you can trust that'll do it for you for free to get you that information you need to get on the road to buying a house.
Yeah, definitely. And don't wait. That's
Yeah.
probably the biggest thing. Like, if you're like, I don't think I'm qualified, that's an even more reason to talk to someone
Mm-hmm.
and find out that you're not, right? I mean, that's not a bad thing. Find out that you're not so that Mark can guide you on, maybe it's going to take 3 months, maybe it's going to take 6 months, maybe, it's the difference between if you renew your lease or you don't renew your lease and how much time do you have, right? I talk to renters all the time who are like, well, I just started, I just signed a lease. Awesome. You've got 12 months now to make sure that you're ready to buy when that lease is up. So let's talk to a lender. Let's figure out what we need to do to make this a reality.
And you got 12 months to fund your GoFundMe.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Which we're going to put information on that in the
Yeah,
comments. So Mark, definitely send that over.
I
So,
will. Yeah.
well,
Mark, one last thing that I
Sure.
want to bring up is that not all down payment assistance programs, you don't always have to be a first time home buyer. It doesn't have to be your very, very first home, right?
Right.
If for a couple of years or 3 years, you'd be eligible too.
Right. And the nice thing, here's another thing to look about that too, is some of them also have the thing. One is like 3 years since the last time you purchased, right, or owned a home. That's still considered a first time homebuyer. Or some of them even, let's say you got two people and one of them's on the loan, which happens sometimes, and the other person is a first time homebuyer. In some of those programs, we can use that since that other person is a first time homebuyer, it still counts as a first time homebuyer purchase. So there's lots of options in that too. So there's lots of twists and stuff we can do to kind of make this work for everybody. So
Yeah.
awesome.
good question. Yep.
Well, Mark, thank you for joining us.
Bet.
This has been
My
great.
pleasure.
I'm going to put up a screen for everybody here in a second. There's a QR code. We've got a lot of great things going on. This Friday, what is it, the 19th from 8 to 9 a.m. We are at Convivio Cafe. It's on 38th in Denver. It's near 38th and Sheridan. We will buy you a cup of coffee. No strings attached. Just come. If you have questions about down payment assistance, Mark will be there. You can talk about that. We're just there. We're there the third Friday of every month. So that's coming up this Friday, the 19th. Next Monday, we're going to be talking about tips for selling your home in 2024. So definitely join us for that. That's at 12:30. And then also, if you scan the QR code, we are doing a giveaway for an espresso machine because we love coffee.
We do.
Yes.
Cafe y Casas.
Yep. So, and we are going to draw that winner on March 4th. So make sure you scan that and sign up. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Stay warm, everybody.
Yes,
Stay warm.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, all right. Bye guys.